the Minister for CS for Environment, Eden Duale. Joho in fresh battle, I think we've mentioned this. Some organization is challenging his education credentials. And up there, how civil servants looted billions through imprests. And I will come to a cartoon that talks about this.
On the Star, finally, Raila steps up AU bid with 19 states' support. They say a candidate requires votes from at least 34 nations to win posts. So you can take a look at how those numbers are, 13 versus 34. This also, just to remind you, the government is going to officially be launching Raila's AUC bid next month. It is going to be something strategic. The fact that yesterday he also said that he is somewhat quitting local politics and just really focusing on this. It is also going to be at a very good time.
So the Star's done us justice by actually outlining some of the main contenders for the job. Away from Raila Odinga, there are three other candidates: Mahamoud Ali Yusuf of Djibouti, Richard Randriamandrato of Madagascar, and Anil Gayan and Mauritius. Yes.
I thought the Madagascar's one is a very mouthful second name.
Randriamandrato. And of course, something that we'll be telling you more about is that Cape Media, TV47, is about to sign a memorandum of understanding with the Star newspaper. And I will be bringing you more details. That event will be happening this morning, and we'll be bringing it live right here on Morning Cafe starting from 9 a.m. So do stand by for that. And after that, going forward, you'll see a lot of the Star on Morning Cafe and other shows.
Oh, yes.
Right here, TV47.
Yes, definitely. Other conversations that are on the front page of the Star, real quick, that the photo of Collins Jumaisi. They say bounty on murder escapee as court frees cops in Saga. DCI had this on the X page, and the kind of comments that were there were just very, very hilarious.
Someone should actually, one of the film producers in Kenya should actually do a movie around this. Story Ajaba. Na ikwetu title Story Ajaba. Alafu, you do
Japanese. Shutdown looms as teachers in Matatu vow strike. Now, Matatu owners are also planning strike as of, I think, Monday. So, itakuwa walimu hapa na watu wa matatu hapa.
Interesting.
Itakuwa ngumu.
Let's take a look at...
Yes, and finally, ile conversation for the front page of Daily Nation. Only 3 farms supplied oil in 16 billion cash shillings. A deal comes to the probe for special tenders. Into the cartoons now.
This is a cartoon on the Star, and it talks about the different outfits that Raila Odinga has been wearing over time. You remember that jungle outfit during the campaigns, and then his official blue Azimio outfit. Now he wants to change that to the green of the African Union. And he talks more about what features also on the front page of the Star, Raila's bid for the AUC job.
Lakini Ozone aliona nini kwe ya
orange lazima has to feature there. They should have added slippers are green and yellow, because squeezy kile kiatu amevalia ni tofauti
zote.
The debate about teachers and how this affects them, despite the release of funds by Treasury, the standoff still persists between teachers' unions who insist the strike is still on. Wanasema shida zao si hiyo pesa kidogo wamepewa, kuna shida zingine zaidi hazijatatuliwa. So the teachers and the Teacher Service Commission, the employer, looking either side of each other, not talking at all. Meanwhile, pale chini ni wanafunzi wanaumia, especially those who are intending or preparing to sit their national exams later this year. This strike will definitely affect them. Can you imagine uko form 4 alafu walimu wanaenda strike third term. Very sorry.
You really waste a lot.
Right.
And we also have for the Standard here, there are different segments. The first one, they say commentator KRA is planning to use AI to catch the tax evaders.
If we could have that cartoon, Saimo. What's hiyo cartoon ya The Standard?
Unasema what's
ili Kenya waone tunasema nini.
So what's your take? That is on page 14 of The Standard, and the commentator is asking, what is your take on this? The second gentleman, I don't think the tax cheats is a problem. Keeps on saying, why not use the AI to catch the tax eaters?
And I agree with them. So KRA is using AI to catch tax evaders. But the problem is not the evasion of tax. We collect enough. It's people who eat this money. Use the same AI to actually catch those ones.
Yes.
Wakenya wameamuka bana. And the interesting thing is that this commentator is actually dressed in the yellow.
Oh,
and
yeah.
green of,
Siku hizi inakuwa very, very symbolic.
This is a real hustler.
Yeah.
Asema tunajua mali shida iko. Wacha kusingizia AI. Na kusingizia watu wajalipa ushuru. Wewe ushuru inakuliwa, hapo ndio shida iko.
And finally on Daily Nation, it is on page 18 of that paper.
And you know, many people have been talking about the fact that President William Ruto has been traversing the country and launching projects here and there and doing everything. So there's a new project he's going to launch this coming week. And it was announced this past week that ataenda kulaunch Raila. So the cartoon on the Daily Nation already has a plaque written Baba AUC candidacy to be launched by His Excellency William Ruto. Not even the launch, to be launched. So Mudavadi has launched the launch. Mudavadi made an announcement and launched Raila Odinga and announced that the president will come to launch Raila Odinga next week. Yes. A country of launches.
It reminds me of something I saw on X, someone saying, ameweka picha ya Ruto alafu akasema, na ni kama Jomo Kenyatta haku-launch the nation. I'll look for a day I launch
Ule jamaa anaitwa nani?
Kenya.
Morara Kebaso. Morara Kebaso kuna project hapo unafaa waanda angalia. Hii plaque ya AUC candidacy itakuwa launched so that it's launched by the president again. Why are they relaunching what has been launched already? Yes. Morara Kebaso mali huko. Kuna missed call hapa.
Oh yes. Those are the dailies for you, and we'll be taking a look at them, and particularly, we'll focus on any university funding.
University funding model will have 6 guests in studio, mainly made up of the youth, to discuss how this is affecting them and their education going forward. Matters Education featuring on the front pages despite teachers getting a salary hike. Will that ease the pressure on the strike notice? That after the break. And you can be part of this conversation as well through social media on X at TV47 News and on Facebook TV47 Kenya.
And your Ringita_ coming up as of around 8 a.m. on the 1s and 2s, 3s and 4s. We'll have still some music for you. DJ Granite will be making sure that weekendi yako imeanza fiti ama namna gani. Let's take a break. We'll be right back with all this.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
to hard lessons,
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
we cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights,
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
strategies,
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
and stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph,
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire,
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
motivate,
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
and break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
to hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
Welcome back. Time for us to take a look at quick news updates. Now, the government has defended President William Ruto's relaunch of stalled old projects, terming it as a noble cause. Government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura said Kenyans should instead laud President William Ruto for keeping the promise of relaunching the same projects he launched when he served as deputy president. Mwaura's remarks are likely to anger Kenyans who are questioning the loss of public funds in stalled projects. Apollo Kamau reports.
In what is likely to stir public anger after an expose of stalled government projects relaunched by President William Ruto by 28-year-old lawyer Morara Kebaso, who took social media by storm after conducting inspection tours of the stalled projects, government spokesman Isaac Mwaura says the relaunched projects, some which never took off after they were first launched by the president when he served as deputy president, is a noble cause that he should be thanked for after keeping his promise.
There could be headwinds in anything that we do in life. So I think it is very noble, that be the case. And of course, if then that was something that, for example, the president did when he was a deputy president, he's just, keeping the promise because he's now the commander-in-chief and the head of government.
A statement that has not gone down well with Morara, who spoke during Okoa Uchumi Forum here in Nairobi, where he vowed to soldier on with his accountability push on Ruto projects. Morara also revealing that his life is now in danger for his accountability quest.
I've had threats to the life of my family. I've had salutes from DCI hung around my home with unmarked vehicles. I've had people try to track my phones, to hack my phones. I've had people searching my IP address when I'm browsing. I've had to change cars. I've had to get out of my house in somebody's boot, the boot of a vehicle. I've had to sacrifice my personal comfort and my personal luxury in the pursuit of a dream of a better Kenya.
Mwaura singles out budgetary constraints and a huge public debt as a reason for stalled projects. Despite protests, the White Elephant projects have already cost the taxpayer millions after some of the contracts were terminated.
Your Excellency, sir.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has since directed national government administration officers to supervise government projects in their area of supervision.
And it is your work to make sure that the projects the President has launched are going on. And if they don't, you have a duty to file a report to that effect on behalf of the President.
Apul Kamau, TV47.
Now, a section of leaders has come out to castigate the new university funding model. Na Kenya Party leader Martha Karua has rejected it, citing discrimination. Chief Justice Martha Koome, on the other hand, wants a unified consolidated fund from where Kenyan students can access funding for tertiary education. George Maringa with that story.
As thousands of students prepare for the third semester and freshmen count days to begin their higher education, leaders continue to poke holes into the new university funding model. For starters, NARC Kenya Party leader Martha Karua has rejected the new funding model, saying it discriminates learners.
Just as Kenyans rejected the heavy hand of the state in imposing unjustifiable taxes that threatened to crush the livelihoods of millions, we must now reject this new oppressive university funding model placed on the shoulders of our students and their families. It represents an attempt to extract wealth from the most vulnerable and to consequently deepen the economic divide in our society. In a similar fashion, the ongoing CBC system, competency-based curriculum, which restructures secondary education and segregates junior secondary and the rest of secondary. You know, secondary years are 4. So the first two are put aside away from the other two.
The head of the judiciary, Chief Justice Martha Koome, on the other hand, avers that there is need to consolidate the numerous bursaries into one.
How unequal and how unjust we are in a society. That the child who has qualified to go to the university can be there crying, saying, look, I've been put in band 5. Is it band 5? When I ought to be in band 1, and therefore I cannot afford to go to the university. And when you follow, you find the person, the child of a well-to-do family has been put in band 1. When you follow, you also find that there is bursary fund given from the taxpayers' money, given to the governor, given to the women rep, given to the MP through CDF, given to the MCA. I hope none of them is here because they are going to lynch me. Now, all those bursaries, how are they disbursed? Why wouldn't you put them in education and make education free for all?
Government spokesperson Isaac Mwaura, in his Thursday address to the nation, talked of a flawed appeal process which he says is being corrected.
Kumekuwa pengine na changamoto kidogo kwa sababu nakumbuka kwamba watu walikuwa wanafunzi walikuwa wajue matokeo ya kile kitengo ambacho mtu amewekwa kufikia tarehe 19. Lakini sasa hivi kuna huo mwanya wa kuweza kukata rufaa, na hilo ni jambo ambalo litaendelea. Kile ambacho nitakuhakikishia ni kwamba hakuna mtu yeyote atawachwa nje akose kuingia katika chuo kikuu ama taasisi kwa kisingizio kwamba bado hajaweza kupatiwa mkopo ama kupatiwa fedha au fadhili nasi.
With a few weeks left before learning resumes, eyes will be on the government and the Ministry of Education to see how they navigate the implementation of the new university funding model. George Maringa, TV47, Nairobi.
Still on education matters, the Ministry of Education has issued a directive requiring all parents to ensure their school-going children are registered under the Social Health Insurance Fund (SHIF) before the third term starts on August 26th this year. In a memo addressed to all regional and county directors of education, the ministry emphasized that parents must register their children as dependents under SHIF. Anne Odida reports.
As the start of the new school term approaches, parents across the country are being urged to take swift action in response to the new health fund. By Monday, August 26, all school-going children must be registered under the recently introduced Social Health Insurance Fund, SHIF. The directive issued by Principal Secretary for Basic Education, Belio Kipsang, in a letter dated August 16, requires that children be registered as dependents of their parents before the new school term begins, an initiative that has been further supported by Principal Health Secretary Mary Mudhoni.
The message has been passed in the Ministry of Education, all school-going children to register before they go back to school so that it will be easy for them to be catered for all.
The new policy marks a significant expansion of the previous Edu Afya scheme, which was limited to secondary school students, by now extending coverage to primary school learners as well. The Social Health Insurance Act number 16 of 2023, which took effect on November 22, 2023, mandates that all Kenyans, including children, register with SHIF. This act is a critical component of the government's efforts to achieve universal health coverage by ensuring that every citizen has access to essential health care services. Since July 1st, 2024, registration for SHIF has been in progress. The Ministry of Health, through the Social Health Authority SHA, has developed an expanded benefit package to integrate Edu Afya into SHIF. This means that the comprehensive health coverage previously available to secondary school students will now be accessible to all school-going children. Anne Odida, TV47.
Meanwhile, parents and teachers are in a state of confusion following the teachers' industrial strike that is to take place on August 26th. That will greatly affect the school's curriculum, especially for grade 6 candidates. This, as Principal Secretary of Education, Belio Kipsang, has asked teachers to find better ways to resolve their conflicts. Anastasia Mukabi reports.
of confusion following the proposed teachers' strike that is to take place on Monday. They fear that the grade 6 learners will be affected greatly since they need their teachers' supervision to pass their exams.
Na kwa hivyo walianza masomo kwa kuchelewa. Kwa hivyo serikali ingefanya bidii hiyo mgomo wasisitize, at least watoto wafanye mtihani kwanza ndio ama watayarishwe, kwa sababu hawa watoto kwa ukweli wa kidato cha 6 ni watoto umri wao ni kidogo na wanahitaji walimu sana kwa kujitayarisha.
According to Tom Nyombeka, a teacher, he believes that the teachers' strike will greatly affect the curriculum and the candidates this year.
Ni swala ambalo wanaweza wakaliweka mezani wakajadiliana alafu wakapata suluhu ili wasije wakawaathiri wanafunzi kutokamilisha silabasi, vile vile kuweza kuathiri matokeo yao mwishowe, na vile vile kuweza kuchangia nyongeza ya athari za kisaikolojia kwa wanafunzi wetu.
Following the Teachers Service Commission meeting held yesterday with the teachers unions KUPPET and NAT, the agreement went in disarray and the teachers demanded the following: promotion of all the 130 stagnant teachers, have a budget for teachers' medical scheme as per current limits for each job group, employ the 46,000 intern teachers on permanent and pensionable terms, employ the 20,000 new teachers for GSS, remittance of all that party deductions like bank loans and SACCOs. They've also asked for the TSC to call the teachers' unions for a new CBA 2025 and 2029. Meanwhile, Principal Secretary of Education Belio Kipsang has asked teachers to find better ways to resolve conflict as educators.
Educators, we should have been able to get different perspectives in which we can be able to change the future, because we are custodians of the future.
Sim Kabi, TV47.
All right, time for us now to delve into the discussion this morning. Today we're focusing on the new university funding model, which has caused quite some controversy. And being a Friday, we get the youth perspective. I'm privileged to have in studio, beginning on my immediate right, Dennis Kariuki, President Emeritus ANU, Marine Jobs Recruiter as well. Karibu sana.
Asante.
We also have Matthew K. Samuel, Chairperson of NYEF, which is the National Youth Empowerment Fund.
Yes.
Yes. And he's also a youth leader and entrepreneur. And finally, Fred Mukua, youth leader. Karibuni sana. A lot of discussions around the education on the front pages of the dailies, and I'm looking at the Standard. A boom for teachers and a strike threat. That is the big story on the front page of the Standard. They talk about teachers to receive a salary increment of up to 2,750 a month, in addition to increased allowances in the second phase of a pay deal, even as unions push for a strike beginning Monday after talks with TSC on other demands failed. The story continues on pages 2 and 3. The story about teachers and how they're going to resolve their issues, as well as on page 3, clock ticking on parents to register their learners for the new health insurance cover. So definitely it is a big talking point, generally the education sector, but a special focus on the university funding model. But before we even get to that, generally, when you see matters education featuring on the front pages, it means there's a critical issue that faces the country. And Dennis, if we could start with you, do you get the feeling that probably this administration has to some extent mismanaged matters education?
Yeah, so personally I think education is everything. If we look at the past and the present, from where we started since we gained independence in 1963 and 64, we can realize that there has been a trend during the times of Jomo Kenyatta, President Jomo Kenyatta, the former president, and our forefathers, and going ahead to President Moi and President Kibaki. So during those days, there was no education. And those who were educated are those who were taking positions in power, okay? So now you realize, since then, after President Kibaki launched the free education, free primary education, we have so many people who have at least they have gained that knowledge. They have the academic excellence, and right now they are at university level. So now, the reason why we are seeing challenges in the education sector, it is because a time back, it was easy because there was a need. We need to educate our people. But the time has come when we have so many people educated, but right now they do not have job opportunities, and people continue to register for those education opportunities. Now, what you see happening and what is happening currently is that they say in the law of demand and supply, when the supply goes high, what happens to demand? And what happens to price? Okay. So that is why we are seeing there is a change in price. Price is going high as the demand becomes low and the supply is increasing. Okay. So that is what is happening in our country. And like we have seen in the past few weeks, we have had the issues of the finance bill. And what we have realized is that the government does not have money. So if the government does not have money, so that is why you are seeing even the university fees, they are going high. Okay. Life is going high exponentially.
Matthew, do you agree with Dennis that probably we are simply victims of our own success, that what we've seen with the free primary education and progressive acceptance and growth in the education sector is what is contributing to the crisis we now face?
So what I can say partially, I agree with him, but at large I contradict with what Dennis is saying, because what actually we know is that education is an equalizer. Yeah. So when we reach to a level whereby in a government now, we come to the state whereby education becomes like a stress. Even to those, you are going to class, the academics itself is a stress, the assignment itself is a stress, and at the same time, now the government is bringing another stress, which is a bit more of increasing there. In fact, it is even tripling the fee that is supposed to be paid. That shifts entire stress into the academic sector. What I can say is this. Since the beginning, we used to grow up knowing that education is an equalizer. Whether you are rich, whether you are poor, whether you are vulnerable or you are needy, when you come into the matters of education, the rich will go to university, the poor will go to the university, the funding can be the same and all those things. But now whatever the government is doing, and we are seeing the hiccups in the sector of the education, the entire sector of education. Number one is the mismanagement.
Okay. And we'll come back to take a look at the university funding model. I wanted just a general feeling, Fred, on your feeling about how the education sector, and not just university, all the way down from ECD, even grade 1, how this administration has handled or approached the education sector.
If you compare the education system of Kenya, and if you go outside and benchmark with the people who are doing studies abroad, you will compare the education system of Kenya is more of a consumption, and the way it is designed, there is no way you can do even innovation. And then it is not the way now the way it has been designed, it will going to benefit only those who can afford it. And the son of a poor man like me who won't afford it. And previously, when I was in primary, it was subsidized to almost 50%. But as the time goes by, you realize the subsidies is being withdrawn day by day. And if you compare, like now, during my time, the fee the high schooler used to pay, and now it has returned to its initial time during Kibaki's time. So I don't think if the government is taking keen on matters of education. Okay. They seem to be like they are importing something from the UK. There's no public participation. Then they use the Kenyans to test if it is working. So I don't think if it is...
You're feeling like guinea pigs. Yeah. New funding model being exercised or rolled out on you. So we'll be back to discuss this university funding model after the break. Remember, today's focus is on the controversy surrounding the university funding model. That and a lot more after the break.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism, how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen.
Welcome back. You're still watching Morning Cafe on TV47 with me, Fred Indimuli. We continue with this discussion on the university funding model. Today being a Friday, it is a youth perspective, and I'm in studio with Dennis Kariuki, Matthew Samuel, and Fred Mukua. Just before the break, we had an overview of how you feel that this administration is handling education, and I want us to focus on the new university funding model. So this model was unveiled by President William Ruto on 3rd of May last year, 2023, and it aims to address challenges encountered by public universities and technical and vocational education institutions, which are known as TVET, due to massive enrollment and inadequate funding. This new funding framework replaces a differentiated unit cost previously used to finance universities. The model prioritizes a student's financial need and separates placement from funding. So under this new model, universities and TVETs will no longer receive block funding in the form of capitation. Instead, funding for students will be provided through scholarships to the students, loans to the students, and household contributions by the families of these students. So to make this possible, they've divided it into 5 bands. Band 1, families with a monthly income of up to 5,995. Band 2, for families with an income, monthly income of 23,670. Band 3 for families with a monthly income of up to 70,000. The next one for families with a monthly income of up to 120,000. And finally, Band 5 for families with a monthly income above 120,000. So Dennis, the question is, what is your biggest problem with this new funding model? Because from the explanation, it looks like a very well thought out plan.
Yeah. So personally, I can say it's a good script. But now we have to ask ourselves a question. Are we yet there? You see, before you bring a policy in a country, you have to ask yourself 3 questions. What is this policy that I'm bringing? And how am I going to implement it? And is the timing right for me to implement it? And by me, I mean the government. So, right now, we understand that there is mass enrollment in universities and also in colleges. And it is true, the government doesn't have money. It is, okay, it has money, yes, of course, but it doesn't have enough money to fund education, just like it used to be a time ago. So now, the question is, if the timing is wrong, why are we still forcing things and we are not yet there?
What do you mean the timing is wrong?
Yeah, the timing is very wrong. Because right now, how many households, we have just been given a guideline about how band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4 is being funded. And we are looking at families that are earning incomes of around 5,000, 10,000. Me, personally, I believe that it's a very good script in which I have a thought that what if this thought or maybe this policy, it was already important. It is an important idea. It is something that is being brought to this country to work, and yet we are not there.
But what is so different with Kenya, Matthew, if at all this kind of model probably has worked elsewhere? What is so different with us that this model may not probably work as well as it has anywhere else? I'm not so sure it has.
Actually, if I take you to 1990s, whereby how the university education was being funded and was being run, is something very critical if you compare it to the current thing that you are seeing actually, to what the Mr. President is trying to bring into the sector of the funding mode in universities. The main issue I can just say is the capitalization of all these resources that are put in place. Mr. Fred, I can just try to comment on what my brother is saying. It's not that even the time is not right. We should be asking ourselves, where did rain started beating us? Does it mean that because there's a mass registration of students into the university, that is what is causing the universities to lack funds, to lack the necessary allocation of resources and all those things? Where does all this money have been going to? Eh? Because if we try to ask ourselves that question, that's where we'll get to know where the real problem started. Because all this period, students have been paying the money. Yeah, we can not say that others fail to pay the loans or what, because the loans have been paid. If it's help, the university have been funded. All those things have been there. But I can just tell you, the main problem is the government has been in a block whereby they have refused to try to expand even these institutions in terms of resources, in terms of development. We are still sitting in the same place thinking that the number of students who will be enrolling into this university will still remain the same. Maybe it will still be 1,000 students into the university, 100 students into the university, not putting in mind that these numbers is going, as time goes, everything, the numbers are increasing.
Yet the number of institutions of higher learning has also gone up between 2002 and to date. And the number of universities in Kenya has significantly gone up. Are we saying that the resources are still not enough?
Yeah, I can say the resources are still not enough. In terms, what I'm putting emphasis on is in terms of development and resources in those universities. The university has been set up. The universities are there running. But the university that used to recruit, I can say maybe 4,000 students in 2005, is the same university now that they are trying to force 10,000 comrades to come in, learn, and they expect the same everything or the same environment as it used to be in 2005. Yeah.
If you look at the bands and back to the funding model, because you talked about equity and education being an equalizer, and are we talking about equality or equity? Because when you say equality and everyone is at the same level, equity is depending on how much you can, then you do something in tandem with that. Band 1, for example, which is classified as the most needy, is primarily for the most needy group, families below 6,000 shillings income. So under this category, the government scholarship will cover up to 70% scholarship of fees, while the loan will cover 25%. That's a loan, making the total support 25%. Here the family only gets to pay 5% of the total amount or the total cost. Meanwhile, Band 5, which is for families that earn more than 120,000 shillings, in these categories, families will pay up to 30% of the fees. They will receive 30% of the fees as loan, while the families will be required to pay 40% of the fees. And I don't know if that is correct. But this means basically that in one class, you could be seated there with your colleague doing the same course, be it engineering or medicine. On one hand, you're paying 100,000 shillings, and the person seated next to you is paying 400,000 or 500,000 shillings. Do you have a problem with that, Fred?
Before we get into the band, I'll take you back to Presidential Working Party. They did a public participation, and I took part in that. We recommended as students, that time I was an SG. Some of the recommendations we did were adapted, and a few were, most of them were dropped. I have a challenge in the implementation of this model. If you look, it is like it is being implemented upside down. I have a practical case of a student somewhere in Kericho whose parents own a tea estate, and he has been placed in band 1. I have another case of a student. They own a whole tea estate? A whole tea estate.
Meaning that their income is way beyond 100.
Yeah, with a fleet of vehicles.
Yeah.
I have also a cousin of mine who's one parent is deceased. They did the application normally. They uploaded all the required evidence, but he was placed in band 5. We have another one who is very needy and is in band 4. So I think the issue of this model is implementation. And this thing they are calling mean testing instrument, I think the one who is reading the scripture is doing it upside down. And they are trying to fatten the cow on the negotiation day, not even on the market day.
Okay.
So I don't think it has equity. They need to relook back on the implementation, and we also need to see the value for the money that is being paid. If you see, during my time when I was as the SG at Multimedia University, the same problem we were complaining about: poor housing, poor sanitation, lack of revision material in the school. Like me, I did a science course in STEM. We need to do practical. But we find in a lab there is no chemicals. So it might look good, yes. But in terms of implementation, I don't think there is many. And also if you see, even I can give you a practical example in accommodation sector. The same room we used to, like you, where you used to study, you used to pay maybe 4,000. The fees have been tripled, maybe to 12,000 per semester. The same condition, even more poorer, but they have increased the fee. What is the need of increasing the accommodation fee and we're still getting the same services? And if you compare, there is also disparity in terms of fee. We find the same course in KU cost 300,000. The same case, we go to another school, has a difference of 60,000. Why, how can you explain that? Okay. What is the need for that? Same content, different value. So,
and you mentioned the issue of implementation, and I'll draw your attention to a story on page 2 of the Standard today, where they say that university students lied to secure more funds. This is according to head of public service. He says that it is now emerging that the tool used to classify students for university funding is facing limitations that could have resulted in some students being placed in the wrong groups. On Tuesday, the Ministry of Education indicated that about 5% of the 113,000 students who were to benefit from the government funding program were wrongly classified. Head of Public Service attributed the problem of misclassification to a lack of integrity in the classification process, meaning that students are simply lying about the ability of their families to fund education. Dennis, probably the problem is not the funding model. It is our integrity as a country. That if at all everyone was to just be truthful and say the exact situation their family is in, then maybe it would work.
Maybe before Dennis talk on that, there's no way you can lie to the government. The government knows from the central bank. it knows everyone's account and what is in the account.
You just said, you gave an example of a family that owns a tea estate in Kericho and managed to have their child or their students classified in Band 1.
In Band 1.
Isn't that lying? Isn't that an issue of integrity?
I don't
you say you cannot lie to the government, then...
I don't think if the student lied, because I have a similar case, even those I helped to apply the same help loan. We uploaded the required documentation like the death certificate, and even from the look of things, you can check from a parent is not employed anywhere in the government. The government can check. There's nowhere he's paying payee per month. There's nowhere he's paying the NHIF fee. So the government is just attacking while defending. I don't think if the student can lie. And even if it can lie, the government itself can extract the truth from even the chiefs, the local chief. You don't need even to.
Do we have that kind of data, Dennis? Are we at that level where we have proper data, you can tell exactly how much each family earns, so that we say that this data, when people lie, how do you confirm, or when they tell the truth, how can you ascertain that this is the truth?
Okay, from the past we can see that the government has tried to acquire data about how people earn through things like Huduma number. There are times when they go through KRA and they say this guy files his returns and this is how much he earns. Sometimes they tell us that they are going to look at how you transact your bank accounts, how you transact through your M-Pesa. You understand? So now, I really wonder and ask myself, when do they get the time to go through those things? When? It is just an imagination. Let me just say this. From the past up to now, we can certify and say that we were promised that hii serikali ni ya mama mboga and boda boda, right? So how do you expect a boda boda rider to earn more than 20,000? Just assume, let me just create a picture. I am a boda boda rider and my wife is a mama mboga. So how am I going to raise fees that is around 300,000 to teach my my kids, and yet I have like 6 or 7 of them? How? You are just going to see at my account and maybe, yes, I transact around 50. You're just going to assume that my life is better. But is it really? Does the government really go and look into the data, how many kids that I do have, the properties that I own? Do I even have property? From data we have seen that in Kenya, how many people earn more than 100,000? How many? Very less, right? And yet we are bringing strategies of how those people who are earning over 100,000 to go for Band 4. I had a case like of a relative who was invited to Kenyatta University. Actually, she was allocated Band 5. And if I tell you the situation, it is very tough. And now they were given the chance again to appeal. And the questions that were highlighted are very disturbing. They are making the students to seem as if they are begging.
What kind of questions are they asking?
Oh, is your parent, are you a single parent? Are you an orphan? They are putting you in situations whereby there must be a very, very difficult reason for you to file for that appealing.
There's that issue of single parents and the assumption that single parents, that's an indication of neediness or poverty level. Do you agree with that? Because we see some single parents who are doing very well, exceptionally well. But I've heard stories of where many students have had to declare that they come from families of headed by single parents for them to access this university funding model, or for them to access more funding through this model.
You know, when we try to look into the matters of parenthood, for the person that has maybe 2 parents at the same time, at least I can just say that is, how can I say, it's just a perception that for this person who has 2 parents, a mother and a father, this person is a bit well off in terms maybe of finances. Not putting in mind that maybe this person has a mother, has a father, but the way my brother was saying here,
12
maybe
brother.
maybe the father is a boda boda, the mother is a mama mboga. Yeah, maybe the grand total or the grand the salary maybe per month is ranging between even 5 to 14,000. Look maybe into a single parent now. A parent maybe who is earning even more than 70,000. You cannot compare that parent or that kid to a kid of this person who is mama mboga and a boda boda. So I don't think if that should be a main issue or a main cause for this to put pressure maybe on the side of funding.
Do you think that's where this model gets it wrong, basing it on the income of the families where these students are coming?
Yes, actually that's where I was coming to. The entire process is being compromised at that stage. There's those people that are earning a lot of money, but they don't have bank accounts. They don't use M-Pesa. They just carry money in their houses. There's those people, kind of people, and they are getting a lot of money. There are these people that maybe are transacting through M-Pesa. When the government is trying to put in this situation that we shall be assessing the capability of a student to be funded to be put in this band, either band 1, 2, 3, or 5. Or 4, when you're trying to put more pressure on what the family is able to raise or what the family is earning, you are going in a wrong direction. Because maybe I was born in a good family, maybe well-off family, but later on maybe the family separated. The mother went on her side, the father maybe died, then I'm living with the grandmother. But when you are trying to access my data, you are seeing the data of who? Of my mother. Yeah, it's there, earning maybe more than even 100,000. Then you're putting me in band 5. Yet the person who is taking care of me, immediate person, is who? Is my grandparents. Now that's where the problem is. The government has the capability. There are those people who are capable of doing what? Of getting the real people to put in band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, or band 5. And I can tell you, Fred, this morning, whatever the government is doing is trying to experiment things that cannot work at the wrong time to the wrong people. Okay. They're trying to cause stress and pressure to the comrade, pressure to the vulnerable parents. What the government could do is first do the experiment of this thing can it work on trying to do what? To collect data on who should be placed in band 1, who should be placed in band 2, 3, 4, or 5, before coming now to implement or start putting students in those bands. Now, a person whose parents are earning maybe something like 5 to 12,000, now the student are placed in which? In band 5. What kind of torture is that parent or that student going through currently?
But if you look at the families, and we all come from African families, and the nature of African families cannot be described in that nuclear sense. It's not always father, mother, and 2, 3 children. There's some families where you're being raised in your uncle's household or in your grandfather's place. It does not necessarily mean that your grandfather may be very needy. They could actually be doing very well, Fred. You could be raised in a polygamous situation as well, where your father is one, but there are so many, and he has to cater for 5, 6 families at a go. And you may even have as many as 27 siblings as well. This system, is it able really? Is it the right way to actually gauge how big a family is or how much can be allocated to one student who's seeking university education? There are communities in Africa where they do not even talk about how many children they have in the household. Fred?
I have maybe 2 options. The first option, I suggest they do away with the loans. They do full scholarship, or more than 70% of. They do away with band 4, band 3. And another thing,
they do away with band 4 and band 3. They have only band 5.
No, they do away with band 5 and 4. Then we remain with band 3. So in this band 3, it can work with a number of, because you see, most of the students who transition to universities, most of them come from poor background. Even if you take statistics, those who are admitted in public university, we used to stay together. We struggle together. Even within ourselves, you know, even in a class, we know the one who is struggling and who the one. And if you find in a class of 40 people, you'll find around 2 to 3 people are well off. And even during our time, we used to pay around 16,000 per semester. So the county government can maybe offer you 5,000, and then you wait for the help, you clear the remaining amount. So majority of those people who qualify to go university, a number of them are from poor background. Most of them are studied in day school. And there are so many indicators you can use to know the level of our parents. Even if you download the fee statement for high school, you see the pattern now the parents has been paying fee. You can know, even if you call the principal of the students, you can exactly explain about the situation of the student.
Should that have been probably the direction taken, that probably go back to the history in high school and how they struggle or how they manage to pay for their high school instead of going back to the families?
Yeah. Right. Another thing, they can work with the chiefs and Nyumba Kumi. They collect data from them. They can use the death certificate from the chief. They have the data. And they can also go back to KRA. They see if this parent is paying tax. Is it employed in the government? Even the central bank has the mandate to check the bank account of the parents. They have the detail. If you have an ID only, if I get your ID, I can get all your details.
Let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
By the time you're joining campus or any other institution of higher learning, you're already over 18. You're an adult.
Yeah, you have an ID.
Your family where you come from has no reason to take care of you beyond that. They may be well off, but they decide you're an adult now. Go ahead and take care of yourself. Is it right to still go back to the family and say, you come from a well-off family, so even if they are willing to pay for you or not, you come from a well-off family, you better pay this much at university. You must know some people at university who are to pay their own fees despite coming from well-off families. Dennis?
I know that there are some universities where we see students, they drive big cars. They drive Range Rovers and Prados, right? And some of us, we have seen it is happening. And we have seen other universities where comrades are just walking. So that means that there is actually no balance. But in terms of policy implementation, there should be balance. And this is why. Let us just look. Personally, I'm a former president at Nazarene University. And I can say that I was sitting in those Senate meetings. And the presentation that was being made by the finance was that the government is, that was just those days in the years 2019, 2020. It means that the government, it has not been funding as it is supposed to be. And the funding model that was used then, it was not working. Actually, the money was decreasing as time progressed. So I think as time has been progressing, the VCs, the vice chancellors themselves, they have had a sit-up. And they are saying that there are debts in their universities. And these debts, they are not being paid. And I think now that is where the government and the VCs, maybe they came together to figure out how can this work for us as VCs, for the universities, for them to work, and how can they work again for the government, because we still have loans for the universities. And now, this is just a game between the VCs and the government. But who are in the middle? The students. So now, hence the implementation and the coming of this policy whereby now for the universities, for there to be an equalizer between the university funding and what the university is receiving and the government itself, at least for there to be a balance, let's do this. Let's bring band 1, band 2, band 3, band 4, band 5, whereby we can be in a position to give money, and the university can receive that money. And now for the side of the student, now that is where the problem comes in. because now we are bringing up a model whereby we are not yet ready. There is no balance in all sectors. Let us just look at this thing. In the agricultural sector, there are challenges. In the health sector, there are challenges. In the social services sector, there are challenges. Generally, the economy itself, we are living under harsh times. And if the economy itself is not firm enough, why are we still forcing people to pay more than 70,000? Actually, you are going to realize that if I applied for help, I am going to pay like around, not less than, maybe 200,000, okay? But anyone who goes under band 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, it means that you shall have to pay more. These are loans.
Okay.
Now this is crippling our futures. We are making us to look like beggars. It means that the students themselves, we are going to feel that we owe the government. There is nothing that we can say.
Okay.
Which is why we are still seeing so many situations whereby even I was so happy by the comments of the Chief Justice, Mother Koome. She said yesterday that even now, she is even afraid of even watching news, because every day in the news, sad news, very bad news, and yet we still have funding like from the MCAs, we have MPs, they give educational assistance, we have the women rep, we have the governor, and we have the president. All those, they are giving money to support education. And now the question was, why can't we just make education free? Because it is possible. That is the ideal situation. But before we get there, to the ideal situation, which could come at some point, now we've discussed the problem. What are the consequences of this problem? What are the immediate consequences we are seeing of this university funding model? Does it mean that we are going to see a reduced intake into universities or reduced enrollment? Has it contributed towards any reduction in interest in university education? The government claims that it's simply an issue of communication, that people or students who should be enrolling into university simply have not understood the new university funding model, and that's why they're staying away.
Fred, so I can just say whatever I will go back to where I said that government is trying to play games with the life of the student, the life of our generation. Because when you're saying that the comrades or the students who are supposed to join the university are not informed, or they don't understand exactly what the government is trying to say with this funding mode, is totally a lie. Yeah? Because if it is truly the right thing, why should the president call few 3-4 student leaders to the State House just to brainwash them? Yeah, to brainwash them in which way? So that they can just be seen that there was something called public participation, or they agreed with whatever the government is trying to put in place. That is totally wrong. Yeah, and I can just say the student leader of the current student leaders, they have totally failed the comrade for trying to put everything, or for trying to accept that they can just be married by the government or by this regime of Kenya Kwanza. Now back to your question. When we are looking into this new mode, number one challenge is that there will be massive reduced number of those students that will be enrolling into the university and technical institutions, and this will lead to a lot of problem even in our future, in our time to come. Another issue that we are going to look into is now the dropout. The number of dropout will increase. That those students that had already enrolled, they are learning already. But now when you are bringing this new model, others will fail even to get into it. And another issue that maybe we should not fail to discuss is when this model are being put in place, they are saying that the funding will depend on which course you are taking. Maybe my ambition or my qualification are direct me into nursing. I did accounting and finance, but maybe, okay, let me just use that example. My ambitions were to do engineering or nursing. But now because they are telling me, for you to do engineering or nursing, you have to pay 500,000, this amount for you to enroll. Now, the only option will be, okay, let me do the other course, so the other cheaper one, which I can achieve, so that I can do this and this. What will happen? We will be having professional who will not be having the hobby or that inner development of what they are doing actually. Tutakuwa tuna watu that are just there because they had money, they had capability to take the course and achieve it.
Okay.
The same thing goes down into what my brother is saying. Yeah, when you're talking about this funding system, this money or those people that will be belonging to band one, let me tell you live and direct, are the cousins of the MPs, are the children of the MCS, are the children of the CS. Those people that will be belonging to band 5 are now those watoto wa mama mboga, watoto wa boda boda and the hustlers. Because whatever the government of Kenya is trying to do is just trying to kill the potential of the generation that is trying to come up in the near future. And we cannot be lied with the government that whatever they are trying to do, they are trying to bring the equality in the sector of education. The equality have been there. Despite of the challenges, 1, 2, 3, but we have been, at least sometimes we have been feeling that this quality. Because when you are trying to bring when you're trying to bring a child of a rich person and a child of a poor person even into the private university, there was a feeling that there's a quality. Despite of every challenge, this and that, the funding is the same, the money that is allocated for us is the same, and there's a quality. But see what is happening now. Majority of the number of students that will be funded by the government, they will be going to the public universities. Mm-hmm. Now the private university will remain now with the self-sponsored student. And this will bring a lot of bridge or a lot of gauge or wall between the rich and the poor. Okay. And that's how we'll continue to live in between the same verge.
And still on the same vein, you talked about education being an equalizer, but we are seeing from his explanation that the end result could be that some education courses or some professions will now be a reserve of people with the money or people who can afford things like medicine, which are being costed highly, engineering and law, that only households that can afford that kind of funding will be able to access despite the brilliance of the student. Because either way, whichever band you look at, the amount of money and this is the other facet of this funding model, that each course is now costed differently, unlike before when all courses were paid the same. Do you think that that will further increase the gap between the rich and the poor, as he says, and in itself affect this society going forward?
Maybe he has not understood well. There's a factor also that I forgot about the type of course. When they are allocating this bands, they consider the type of course you are doing. Those in STEM are given more money and more priority compared to those in the business-related courses. And from what he was saying, I can try to bring some sense. For like business-related course and hospitalities, if you do the average of all the fee, in public you realize it is around 187,000. And in private, you will find it slightly lower, which is around 160,000. And the sole purpose of the university is to provide service and sustainability. And the public university is built by public resources, using the public money. And the private university is being built by private resources, others are being built by loan. But the one which 160,000 fee is able to make profit, pay the loan, but the one which we are paying 187,000 is still crippling with debt. Do you see there's something of disconnect somewhere? And I think the issue of debt in the universities, you have been there. You know how the funds are being mismanaged, projects are overquoted, and they are never implemented. So they need to look back, the way the Gen Z was saying they need to look on the public debt of Kenya. We need to relook about the debts, how it came about. They scrutinize each and debt of each university, determine its source. You realize almost 90% of those deaths were as a result of looting from the previous administration.
Okay.
Yeah.
But Dennis, if we focus on the impact that this funding model has, coming from a situation where you've been a student leader, you've seen probably firsthand that this kind of funding model, this is a direct result it has on the life of a student or on the prospects of a student. Kindly paint a picture for us. How bad is it since the implementation of this funding model? How has it affected the students?
I will tell you this. Number one, the more we are making our students beggars, the more we are making them more aggressive. And I think we can see what happened in the previous weeks. What really happened is that this generation that is already in the ground, they already graduated from the universities. At least you can see how angry they were on the streets. And now we are ushering a new generation to the universities who are also angry because education has become more expensive. So this is the picture. Not unless the government changes and scraps off this funding model, this is not going to end well. And this is why. Number one, let us speak about the facts. One fact is that every kid, every child, every person has the right to education. It is under the rights and the freedoms of every countryman in this country that you have the right to education, and you are free to go and pursue education in any school, in any university. So if I am a student and I passed, I did and I worked hard so that I can achieve that grade, and yet I am to suffer when it comes to coming to university, then it means that something is wrong. And where the basis of these problems is that we have corruption in this country. Budgeted corruption. Right now we have moved from corruption, it is now called budgeted corruption, whereby even a ministry, let me just give an example. A ministry can even issue a receipt of around 20,000 meant for breakfast. 20,000. That is misuse of public funds. We are seeing politicians moving from one point to another, traveling all over this country, using big cars that consume lots of fuel, just to tell people that we have a future for you. We need to move from the life of giving ideas and promises to Kenyans. The times when we were campaigning, or the times when we were being told, oh, this is how life will look when we come into the government, those are over. Let us see by our eyes. Okay. And life is not that easy. So this is an aggressive generation that we are ushering in. And if you could just ask someone, do you trust the government? Or will they tell you? Of course, I don't trust the government. So if you don't trust the government, how about the system the systems that they are implementing? How about the system itself?
Are we saying that this system cannot be saved, this new funding model, there's no salvation for it? Is there a way, probably if they approached it differently, that it could work, Matthew? Because when we started this conversation, you all agreed that there's a funding problem. There's no money. And money has to be found in some way to fund education and ensure that it's proper education. This is just a suggestion from the government. Are we saying that there can be no salvation for this new funding model?
Of course, there's salvation, and I can just say number one salvation of what should be done is including or consulting the immediate people that are struggling with this situation. Yeah, not calling 2, 3, 4 student leaders into the State House just to discuss the desires or the interest of millions of comrades. That's number one issue. So the comrades should be brought on board through the well-established system or ways, well-planned ways, just to make sure that they give their views on what they need actually to be done through this funding mode. Number two, the university should be given a chance, or should be put in a place whereby the university as an institution itself can raise cash. Yeah, through I can give you example like the University of Nairobi, through the Chiromo, the funeral and the hospital and all those things. We have other universities that are running that are doing well in corporate world. The university should be this. Where does this money go actually? That's now another issue. The money goes back to the government, and the money is being taken by the few people. The universities, by the way, the universities have money, the government has money. But the way they are trying to put things is like the citizens or the student must pay a certain a certain percentage of money so that they can benefit from the service of the government. I can go with the suggestion of my brother here, Fred. That's the third one. They should do away with band 5 and band 4. Whereby it is giving now the option of a household giving the 7% and another household giving around 12%. That is the band 5. We should now focus on the scholarships and the loans. And the loans should be put in a place whereby the interest, you are not finishing by 3 years, your loan is reading 5 million, like whatever we are seeing happening even currently, because the government has put states whereby when you are trying to find your information on critical issues, you will not see them. But the moment they want now to take money from you, they can read information even since you are born and try to escalate everything about you just to put you on the verge of giving them money. And this is where we are coming back at this square, that the government should be put everything in place to make sure they curb the corruption of which is going on in the sector of the education system. And the last one that I can just say is this issue of private and public university. This is another issue that is bringing a lot of issue. If the student will now shift, the government will now shift their focus of trying to put the public university to the public. And now what will happen? The resources in the public university will not be enough. Laboratories, the hostels, the learning facilities, the classrooms. Now what will happen to this self-sponsored student? If I'm capable of paying 200,000 to get good services, instead of going to the public university, I will do what? I will go to the private university. And now the shift will go like this. The self-sponsored will be going to private universities. The government-sponsored student will be going to the public universities.
Shouldn't that be the case?
That should not be the case, because there will be not the equality that we are looking for will not be there, and a lot of students will be denied a chance even to venture more into what they want to achieve in the sector of education. This is the reason why I'm saying the government should just look into a way of making sure that everything runs concurrently. And I go back to where I started from. You cannot put in mind that the way you used to recruit or to enroll students in 2007 is just the resources are the same, the lecturers, the number of lecturers is the same, the laboratories are the same, hostels are the same, and you still expect even in 2024 you will still enroll the same number or even the higher number of students into the same institution. Okay. Yeah. Facilities ziko improved, and so that you can see that the life of the comrades in the university is a bit changing.
Now, if you look at the political arena, and this was mentioned, and I think one of you mentioned what the Chief Justice talked about, the suggestion that all these bursaries that are spread out all over should be consolidated into one fund to fund education going forward. Yet we see that the budgetary allocation for education is actually the biggest. It's the biggest spend in our budget.
It's true.
Upwards of 650 billion shillings. And one wonders, how come it's not working? And even if we were to bundle more money into that pool, who can guarantee that the money will work the same way? Bonafred, is there any other quick fix to this proposal that they have? You proposed removing band 5 and band 4. Is there any other way to fix this? Or without that, we just do away with the whole funding model altogether?
I don't think if it will be wise if we do away with the old funding model. The problem with this funding model, before I give my input, is it was done in rush. they could have taken their time, do proper public participation, do more testing on it and how it can work, and project the possible outcome of it and encounter it. The problem, they are trying to rush it. Even the fee structure was released after some of the students had already been admitted. Parents are calling all over asking about the fee structure. So the whole thing look like disorganized. It is not properly or well structured. And then you find like, I don't see the need of having HELB. Also we have HF, you have KUSSIP, you have Treasury. Then there's a perception of the Ministry of Education. These things should be put in one kitty from one pool, so that all fund, once it is consolidated into one, it is easier to nini. And then another suggestion is like the interest loan is on compound interest, which is it should be shifted back to simple interest, so that it can calculate it.
Talking about the student loans. The interest charged is compounded.
It is compounded yearly. So it should be in simple interest. And another option is even if the idea of the CJ is also, is thinking the fund should be consolidated, because I'm also a beneficiary of the county bursary to some extent. Popular. To some extent, but on the ground, what is happening is totally not encouraging, because you find the qualification, if you see there, you must be a voter of a certain place, you see, and then those issuing the bursary, like the MP, if you come from a marginalized community living in where there's a bigger community, you'll find the bigger community benefiting more. And when they come to public participation, we'll find the marginalized community, they won't get to the bursary. And then you find sometimes a whole MCA walking around with bursary checks, giving out to families and relatives. No. So some, I think, these funds that goes to NGAF, NCDF, should be consolidated into one kitty, so that it can go to fund the education right from primary to Nini. And I realized these bursary checks, they are used by these people to do campaigns and to also punish a certain people. You don't voted for me, I'll not give you the bursary. And it is the public fund meant to benefit everyone. So I think that is a move, a good idea. The funds should be put in one kitty.
Okay.
Yeah. So and just to add, maybe before I forget about when it comes to the matter of bursary. Actually, from where I come from the constituency I come from, that is Matung constituency, under the Mheshimiwa Peter Oscar Nabrindo. Whatever is happening, those people that are actually, that we might be even calling the vulnerable, those are in need of those bursaries. You go, you stay in those offices even for 12 hours a day, only to come out with a check of 2,000. Yet there's a person whose child is just sitting in a certain place, there's no any problem, there's no anything, but that person goes home with a check of over 120,000. What is happening here? If we try to bring all these funds into one kitty, whereby it will be managed very well, this is now the place whereby we will be talking about now equality. Instead of even leave alone now on the part of MPs and MCS, look at certain constituencies, certain counties. There's counties that are given more money, there's counties that are given less money when it comes to the matter of NGCDF. Yeah, because maybe I'm a friend to the president, I'm a friend to a certain person. Now my people will benefit more to do this and this and this. That is totally wrong. It's a good way to take Mara governor's bursary, Mara MP's vote, Mara MCS vote. All those funds should be brought under the same kitty and put into educating our children, and do away with all this. All this putting them under a different name is just putting painting corruption in different names. The initial goal is just to misconduct the money made for the poor people. The initial idea is just to take money that belongs to the student, but putting it under this is a bursary, this is an MCS bursary, this is an MP's bursary. I can just advise that this money should be put under the same kit, just to be managed by a single institute, just to make sure that when they are funding a child from when the child is starting the education, maybe still when the child is finishing, through the scholarship, through the loans. After we mtu amaliza, then they can pay back they can pay back the loans. Okay. But doing with the scholar with the bursaries, I cannot advocate, because I have never benefited from bursary since I was born. Okay. Yeah, despite of applying, despite of going out and voting, despite of being on the front line of campaigning, I don't know the problem. Maybe because but I cannot.
You get to have the final word on this one. Do you think there's a way we can salvage the funding model? Do you have any proper suggestion on how we should approach university funding?
So, bottom line, let us just ask ourselves, if this model was brought forward, were the students in agreement? If they were not, then if this is something that was supposed to be for them, and maybe it was meant to help them, and they were not in agreement with it, then there is it. There is the answer. It is something that should be scrapped off completely. And one thing that we should understand here is that the reason why we have so many things like MCA, MP, bursaries, the women rep bursary, the president, and also the governor, it is because our leaders have not yet been creative enough to show the ground that they are working. And the only way to show it is through these bursaries. I am working. Nimewafanyia kazi. These are the things that they are doing. Let me tell you, just an example. Imagine all governors, all these leaders, let us just assume that all these bursaries, they are scrapped off from the year, from them. What would happen? How would they seem to be serving the community? No way. You understand? So now we can see there is something that we should do here, that we should invest in education. Just like any businessman, if you invest in the wrong things, what will happen? You are going to lose. So if we invest in education, we are going to see our country moving forward. And let us just remember that other countries, other foreign countries, they do not want to see an African child to get education, because that is competition to them. Let us stop importing foreign ideas and foreign policies, so that we can find ourselves. Na kama haitafanyika hivyo, then we shall go back to the streets.
Kama mbaya mbaya. Thank you so much. Dennis Kariuki, President Emeritus ANU, also a Marine Jobs Recruiter. Matthew Samuel, Chairperson NYEF, Youth Leader and Entrepreneur, and Fred Mukua, Youth Leader as well. Our panelists this morning, I was just trying to understand what exactly this university funding model that has caused so much uproar is working, how it is working. Is it possible to salvage it? And what should happen going forward? It is definitely a conversation that will continue. I'm just looking at one tweet here by Gabriel Wakasiaka. He says, government should focus on building more prisons than education institutions, because by 2030, crime rate will have tripled due to high dropout rate occasioned by new funding model. Say no to the new funding model. That's just one of those sentiments by our viewers. Thank you so much, Gabriel Wakasiaka, for watching. It is a Feel Good Friday right here on Morning Cafe. Our weekend Q, the beautiful Bansi Kimuyu, will be in studio alongside Nyaringita to take us through the music and the entertainment. Remember, an interview with someone who's trying to beat the Guinness World Record for the longest barbecue. That and a lot more after the break. My name is Freddie Nimuli. Good morning.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.
Jiunge nasi tunapoangazia safari za viongozi bora. Kutoka kwa ushindi mkubwa hadi masomo magumu.
Wakati wetu kwamba wasichana si wa kusoma, ni wa kuolewa, ng'ombe ipatikane, wazazi wakuwe watajiri.
Tunashughulikia yote.
I wish I were a better investor.
My parents taught me how to look for things for myself.
Tazama Mfahamu Kiongozi, ambapo kila kipindi kimejaa maarifa, mikakati na hadithi za kukuza azma yako.
For me to succeed, I have to fight.
Kila Alhamisi saa 1:30.
Hey there friends, welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, And the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m. for new friends, amazing stories, and tons of laughter.
Join us as we explore the journeys of those who defy the odds and break barriers. We dive deep into the stories of triumph.
Sometimes when parenting a child with a special need or whatever disability, family life becomes a bit complicated and you may end up raising the child on your own.
Here, we inspire.
I have a farm which one we showcase with other dyslexic youths and autism how to farm.
Motivate.
It's never easy, but what we do, the best thing is to work with another parent who has an elder child than yours.
And break through the barriers one story at a time. Push your boundaries beyond the limit. Saturdays at 8 p.m. The Grind, where business meets brilliance. It's not just about the ideas.
I was working as a shampoo boy. I used to wash clients' hair on the sink.
It's about making them happen. From big wins.
In primary school, when we would be asked what people want to be, I was categorical that I want to be a nurse.
To hard lessons.
The consoles change, the gaming equipment keep changing.
We cover it all. Tune in to The Grind, where every episode is packed with insights.
The person who is serving customers, always be a customer-centric.
Strategies.
When you pay attention to detail, you get luxury items.
And stories to fuel your ambition. Don't just dream it, grind it. Mondays at 7:30 p.m.